Hello, welcome to episode 10 of the Epic Film Challenge 2, 1001 Movies You Must See Before You Die. It's a Woody Allen film, the first and not the last in this series or in the book, 1001 Movies You Must See Before You Die, from 1986, Hannah and Her Sisters. I watched this last night and so it's still fresh in my mind and I absolutely loved it. I loved it. A fantastic film, comedy drama I would say, that follows the lives of three sisters in New York and a few of the people who are part of their lives or have been a part of their lives. So we have Hannah, who is portrayed by Mia Farrow, who was with Woody Allen for many years, and I'm pretty sure she was with him during the filming of this film, and she starred in many of his films while they were together. Then we have Holly, played by Dianne Wiest, who actually won an Oscar for a supporting actress for this role. And then we have Lee, portrayed by Barbara Hershey, I believe. And then the other two main characters are Woody Allen, who plays Hannah's ex-husband, and then Elliot, who plays Hannah's current husband, and that is played by Michael Caine. My name is Michael Caine, and he won the Oscar for Best Supporting Actor, I believe, as well. So this film had a lot of acclaim, and rightfully so. There's a great supporting cast. Carrie Fisher plays a small role. Max von Sydow plays Lee's boyfriend during the film, and there's a lot of different themes running throughout the film. Woody Allen's part is almost completely separate from all the other characters, even though we see a short scene with him when he was with Hannah, who's one of the main characters. Apart from that, he's kind of off on his own with his own people and his own kind of social circles, but he comes back into the fold of the other characters towards the end, which I thought was a really nice way to tie it in. And his part of the story is that he is a raging hypochondriac and believes he has a brain tumor, and throughout the film kind of faces his thoughts on mortality and facing the end of his own life and how he values living. And it's played very much for laughs, you know. And there's a great scene where he's with Hannah and he gets told that he can't have kids. He's infertile. And he's like, was there nothing I could do? Push-ups, hormones, you know? And Hannah's chastising him afterwards. She's like, you know, did you ruin yourself? Was it excessive masturbation? He's like, oh, you're going to knock my hobby now? You know? Great lines from Woody Allen. I thought he was really good in the film. But the main storyline for me was with Elliot, played by Michael Caine. He is in love with his wife's sister. So Hannah's sister, Lee, played by Barbara Hershey, he's in love with her. Or is he? And that's kind of I feel like that's the main theme of the film, is this kind of maybe, not that I can speak from experience, but maybe, you know, when you get married to someone, you've been with them for a long time, you might get complacent, and maybe just the idea of something new, or you're going through a stagnant period in your marriage and relationship, and merely the idea of something else, or in this case particularly something else that he really shouldn't be falling in love with, almost like the forbidden fruit kind of syndrome. He falls, you know, madly, deeply in love with Lee. And so that progresses throughout the film, and that's very interesting, how that pans out. And I loved where it went. I really did love where it went and where it ended up being at the end as well. And then we have Holly. Holly's character, played by Dianne Wiest, she's all over the place. She hasn't got her shit together whatsoever, and she kind of represents that kind of person who's kind of, you know, they're not old, but they're not young. They're in that middle ground. I wouldn't even say middle age, but where they just still haven't figured out their life. You know, she's trying to go to auditions. She's trying to be an actress. She's trying to start up this catering company with Carrie Fisher's character April. She's trying to get a boyfriend. She can't even do that. There's a fantastic scene where Holly and April, played by Carrie Fisher, who's Holly's friend, they go out with this guy called David, and they go on kind of like a three-way date, I suppose, like an impromptu one. And at the end of the night, he's like, well, I guess I better drive you girls home. You know, who do I drop off first? And they're both like, oh, well, I mean, you should probably drop her off first because there's the traffic. And she's like, well, you should probably drop her off first. So it's like it's kind of like, who's he going to take home and you know, and whatever with? And he ends up picking April. And so Holly, Dianne Wiest, is sat in the back, and we hear her in a monologue of like, you know, great, you know, obviously he picked her, you know. I hate the way that she seems to know everything. I hate the way that she's done this and all that. Well, you know, maybe I've got stuff to do tonight anyway. You know, maybe, you know, it's just like it felt so genuine and real and kind of stream of consciousness being inside someone's head. that was something I think the film pulled off wonderfully. We hear that from most of the main characters, I think, from memory. At least Michael Caine, there's a lot of kind of inner monologue with him. And I love how his character was someone who's known to be very smart and well-read and knowledgeable of things and books and classical music and things like that. So he's a very smart guy, but he cannot figure out his own heart. And I really liked that theme, which ran throughout the film. So that's it for my kind of thoughts on the film without spoiling anything, which I will get to in a second. And I don't know, should I do the spoiler talk and then just like, if you read the description, I'll probably put a link to where the spoiler talk stops. So as far as spoilers go, and there's not many, but obviously, Elliot does end up kind of winning Lee over, and she kind of falls in love with him and leaves her boyfriend Max von Sydow, and they engage in a very passionate affair. And as soon as Elliot has slept with Lee, he comes back home and realizes that he doesn't love her, and he still loves his wife. And so he's like, shit, I need to call her and call her off. But before he can call her, she calls him, and she's like, I just want you to know, I felt very close to you tonight. And he's like, shit. But then he carries it on for like a year, but he won't leave his wife, and then his marriage suffers even more from that, and just where that goes, I thought was really good and interesting and captivating. I love the editing in the film. The editing was very snappy. You get kind of bits of, every 5 minutes were kind of broken up with a title card, which would either be like a line that a character was about to say, or just the location they're at. It was really well done, I thought. It kind of kept you on your feet, on your toes, wondering what was going to happen next. And anytime a certain situation with characters felt like it had reached its point where it said what it needed to say, boom, we cut to the next set of characters or whatever, and the editing just felt really on point. Yeah, that was a real strong point of the film, and that worked well with both the dramatic moments and the comedic moments, of which there were many. The script stands out just head and shoulders above the rest, and obviously the performances just they carry that through. They really do. It's an incredible cast. It's just great. I thought it was fantastic as far as a film goes, where you're just looking at characters and how they interact and their relationships and everything, all the things that go along with it, and the kind of the neuroticism of Woody Allen, seeping through everything and all the characters in a way was wonderful to see. And a lot of times you see these Woody Allen films where he's just built up such a career and a body of work that the people who work with him they're just so excited to be in a Woody Allen film, and you can see that they're giving it their all. And yeah, I think that certainly came through with most of the actors in the film. Mia Farrow was very good. She had a hard job, I think, because Hannah is a very insular person and someone who doesn't really display her emotions that much. She kind of does, but she's really not quite as outgoing, especially as of Holly. But Lee, I don't know. I felt like her character was more reserved, and so it was probably harder to pull off what her character was feeling a lot of the time. So I have to give Mia Farrow credit for that. And there's a fantastic scene, probably the best scene in the film, I think, where the three sisters sit down. I think it's the only time the three of them actually sit down together. And this is during the affair that Lee is having with Hannah's husband, and Holly is just going through like the worst time, and the camera is panning around all three of them, and there's an argument going on between Hannah and Holly, and Lee is in the middle getting upset because of the fact that she is sleeping with her sister's husband. And it's just a wonderful scene, so well done, so well performed and shot and everything. So for me, Hannah and Her Sisters is a 10 out of 10 film. It's not quite an 11 out of 10, but it's definitely a 10. Just maximum enjoyment. I really loved it. The ending was great. Now, the big question, is it a film you must see before you die? I'm going to say yes. It's not a film I would call an all-time great, but I feel like as far as a film like this, where you're not really looking at fancy camera moves, you're not really looking at, something larger than life, you're looking at just characters going about their day-to-day lives with a bit of kind of drama going along, but told in a way that is funny and enjoyable and snappy. This is one of the best I've seen. So yeah, that sounds like, I can't really think of a genre for it. It's not even comedy drama, but it's a Woody Allen film, and it's one of his best, I think, that I've seen. I've only seen a handful, maybe 5, 6, 7 or 8 films of his, but It's definitely up there, probably my second favourite film of his behind Annie Hall. So yeah, if you haven't seen it, definitely check it out. I'd never heard of it before. Glad it was in the book, glad I watched it. So yeah, I would say cautiously, it is a film you should probably see before you die.